What's going on, YouTube? Nowadays, in a time when trucks and crossovers rule the road, affordable sports cars are beginning to become a rare sight. Most brands have completely stopped selling them, but Mazda, on the other hand, continues to invest in their iconic Miata nameplate, and has made it one of the best sports cars on the road today at any price point. That's why we're out at Paul Miller Mazda today to check out the updated 2019 version in the beautiful Soul Red paint color. And of course, if you're in the market for any new Mazda, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with that all said, let's see if the updates this year fix the very few complaints people had. So getting started with the exterior styling. It has received lots of praise since it first came out, so it's not where Mazda focused their attention this year. All the design elements are identical to previous model years, which means it continues to have a really sleek design, with a simple black grille in the front and thin headlights punctuating it. As far as the lights themselves, they are fully LED on all three trims, and then at the bottom you have more accent lighting, which turns on when the other lights are off. Heading to the side, there has actually been one notable styling update, and that's that it now has a brown roof option for an extra $200 on the Grand Touring. But as far as everything else, like the front, it stays pretty much the same. You continue to have the dual exhaust and the signature sporty taillights, which are LED across the board. But you might notice one little change, which is the black lens for the new backup camera. So overall, the design of the Miata continues to look great. And especially if you choose a color like this red, it will turn heads. Now turning our attention to the wheels, we have some new options this year. Since this is the Grand Touring, these 17-inch dark gray alloys actually carry over, but the metallic black 16 and 17-inch alloys on the Sport and Club are new this year. You can also get forged BBS rims and Brembo brakes as a new option on the Club. Heading to the mirrors, they are heated and auto-dimming on the GT only, though blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert start on the Club. Now as far as other advanced safety systems, there are some new ones that have been added to the Grand Touring or as an option on the Sport and Club. They are automatic emergency braking and traffic sign recognition, in addition to the lane departure warning and auto high beam headlights that were already present. It's definitely good to see these systems present since a lot of sport cars skimp on these types of things. But anyways, that's it for the exterior updates. So now let's go ahead and get inside the cabin. So every version of the Miata, including the base model, does come standard with their intelligent entry system, as well as their typical lightweight and slender key fob. And then as far as getting inside the vehicle itself, there is no sensor behind the handle, so you're just going to press the button to unlock. Alright, so taking a look inside the refreshed 2019 Mazda Miata. Now there are more changes in here than on the outside, however there's not too many super significant differences from the 2018 model. So as far as interior material and colors are concerned, you've got several different choices. So starting on your base sport model, that's going to come in black cloth only. Going for the Club is going to get you black cloth but with red accents. And then when you go for this Grand Touring, this is where you're going to get the leather trim. And it comes in either this tan color or a black color. As far as your door trim, it is really nicely appointed here. You've got leather across the armrest as well as above it with the color contrast stitching. And then your top part here is a plastic piece, but it is matched with the exterior color and really, it just really looks very nice. Around the window switches here, you have a faux carbon fiber trim, and then your two windows are one-touch auto down. As far as the seats, they are 6-way manual adjusting across all of the trim levels. Then like I was saying, this is the real leather seating. These seats have a really attractive design. I like this headrest, especially here in the Grand Touring where we have integrated speakers inside of it. So it definitely makes for a cool look. So like I was already saying, the main parts of this design have not changed this year, and that does include the materials. So you're still looking at a hard touch dashboard all across here. However, once you drop down to the middle part, this is soft touch, and you do have a nice looking stitching detail that runs all the way across through here. The lower areas are also hard touch, but everything fits together very nicely. And you do have a nice quality carpet here as well. Now as far as the starting, it is push button across all the models. And when you press that, you will notice the standard 7-inch display fire up. So looking over here at your gauges, this is one of your 2019 changes. Not in the actual design itself, but basically the display technology. This multi-function display here on the left is now color. It has the same functionality as before, so you have some basic information, but like I said, it is now color and it looks a lot more vivid than it did before. Now coming back to the steering wheel, the Miata does have electric power assisted steering, and all models will come with a leather wrapped steering wheel. Now for 2019, this is a very significant change, especially if you're someone who is a taller person. The steering wheel is now telescoping in addition to tilting, so that just gives you more options to get a comfortable driving position, of course. The wheel itself is not heated, however. As far as your buttons, they're the same as in most Mazdas, so this is for your multi-function display. You've got your audio controls, your phone controls, and then over here you have your cruise control. Checking out the wipers, they are rain sensing if you go for the Grand Touring, and we also have paddle shifters. Now of course storage is not the biggest thing you buy the Miata for, but we'll go ahead and talk about it anyways. Honestly, it's decent for a vehicle that's as small as this is. So if you open this little armrest portion up, you have a extremely small little place here. Not sure exactly what you could store there. But behind that, in replacement of the glove box, you have a pretty nicely sized storage area. That goes back a decent amount of space, and you can fit some stuff in there. Here are your two cup holders. Now, they are removable, so you can relocate it to the extra little slot on the side here. So we've taken this one out and moved it over here in case you want this in a more convenient place while you're driving. And then lastly, we have a storage area right up here. This is actually big enough to fit a phone, so that's very nice. Now coming back here to the shifter. Of course, as you can tell, we've got the automatic, so we just pull back to drive. You can shift over here to go into manual mode, or use the paddles, of course. And then when we go into reverse, we have another significant 2019 change, and that's that we now have a standard backup camera. As far as the actual camera itself, we do not have active trajectory, and we also do not have parking sensors. Nevertheless, it is still nice to have this since we didn't used to have it. And of course you do have a leather wrapped handbrake. Now as far as what's behind the shifter here, we do have a drive mode controller, which like other Mazdas is simply toggles between sport and normal. We've also got our Mazda Connect controller. This is what you use the vast majority of the time to operate the system, since the touchscreen is disabled above 5 miles per hour. And then back one more rung is our audio system. Now here on the GT as well as the Club, you're going to have the Bose 9-speaker premium audio system, whereas the base model will get a 6-speaker audio system. But let's go ahead and sample this upgraded audio. As you'd expect for that many speakers inside such a tiny cabin, sound quality is very good, and I definitely like the 3D effect of having the speakers right behind your head. Alright, now next up the dash here is our automatic climate control. This is standard on the Grand Touring only, whereas the other trims have a manual setup. This is actually single zone, as you can tell, so you're going to adjust your temperature right over here. You adjust your fan speeds right here, and then your zones on this third knob. And then that finally brings us up here to our Mazda Connect system. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at it. This is the same as all your other Mazda systems, besides for the brand new one in the Mazda 3. So I'll point out a few of the highlights here. On the Grand Touring, we do have navigation that's integrated right into the system. And then in regards to that topic, you do not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto like some of the other Mazdas on this Miata yet. It might be coming as an update in the future, but as of now, if you buy it new, you do not have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. But like I was saying, this is pretty much what we've seen in a lot of different Mazdas. So I will refer you to our detailed Mazda Connect system tutorial if you want to learn more about the system. A link to that video is in the video description. And moving on up from there, on your Grand Touring model, you're going to find this auto-dimming mirror with your HomeLink universal remotes. But then of course, one of the big signature items of the Miata is the soft top and just how easy it is to get down. So there's no power mechanism, but you don't need it. All you got to do is just push this forward, grab this little slot here. The windows are going to automatically roll down just a little bit. I'm going to grab the little handle and just basically push it back. It's a little hard here with one hand, but if I push it down just a little bit further than I have it right now, it would lock into place. And then to get it back up, you're just going to push this. It's going to pop up to about right here. You're going to grab said handle again, shut it down like so, grab that little latch and latch it into place. So it is extremely easy. And of course, that's kind of the joy of this car, is it's so small that you can just kind of throw that back or throw it back up again. As far as the actual cabin itself, I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. This is the first time I've been in the Miata personally, and it looks so small on the outside. I was thinking the inside would be a kind of a claustrophobic place, but to me it actually feels pretty spacious. You have the windows are fine, and of course you can always just drop that top if you're a little bit taller of a person to give you that free and open air feel. Now there's not really a whole lot left to check out, but I will still hand it off to Mason to check out the rest. Alrighty, so coming around to the trunk, all you have to do to open it is locate this little button under the lid. It is off to the right. Just push it, and it will pop it open. Now once inside, you might be curious how much space it actually has in the Miata, because this is actually a very small vehicle, so you wouldn't expect very much, and you're not going to find very much. You're going to find 4.6 cubic feet of space, which I did leave the tripod in here for reference. So as you can tell, this is a full-length tripod, and that has actually plenty of room to spare in here. So this is definitely enough to put a weekend bag or a couple weekend bags in here. Now in addition to that, you do have a light off to the side, and I do want to point out that it does not matter if the top is up or down. You are going to have this exact same configuration. Now coming around to the passenger seat, of course it is manually adjusting.
In climbing in, you do have really nice materials. However, you will not find a glove box in the Miata. Actually, your storage has been moved right over here to back behind, in between these seats. And you can fold this down to give you a little bit more storage space. This is probably a little bit smaller than most glove boxes, but you can fit quite a bit of stuff back there. Now, in addition to that, I do also want to point out that your cup holder can be here next to the passenger, so that's a very convenient location. Or if it kind of gets on your nerves because your knee does kind of bang into it, you can just remove it and move it up here to where the driver's is.
Alright, so as all you Miata fans know probably already, the big change for 2019 is actually under the hood. It finally got more power, as people have been requesting for a large number of years. So this year, they've basically done some upgrades to the engine. It is the same engine, but it's got new tuning, and it's said to be better breathing, so it kind of has a freer revving, and the rev limit does increase as well. And all that together is going to give you 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque, which is up from the previous 155 horsepower. Of course, you're going to continue to have a 6-speed manual transmission as the standard option, or you can pay extra for a 6-speed automatic transmission. And then as far as your fuel economy, that also improves this year just a little bit. With the automatic, it's going to be 26 city, 35 highway, 30 combined. And if you go for the manual model, it's going to drop to 26 city, 34 highway, 29 combined. That's enough of the specs. This car, of course, is about just kind of a visceral enjoyment. So let's go ahead and take it out on the road. Launching off in the Miata for the first time. This is actually the first time I've ever driven this car, and so I can't really speak specifically about how much the horsepower, the extra horsepower, improves the vehicle, but it really doesn't feel that underpowered. I know it has a reputation for kind of being slow, but what people forget sometimes is that it is incredibly lightweight.
Yeah.
So it really is not that slow feeling when you first start off, that's for sure.
And more important than the actual horsepower figure for this vehicle particularly is its driving dynamics.
That's right. Revs like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, when they said freer breathing, that sounds kind of vague. I don't really know. I didn't really know what that was going to mean, but I think I've got the idea. I mean, it just shoots up and revs for days. You can go all the way up to, I believe, 7,500 RPM now is the red line. So that's nuts, of course, but it just makes it so much fun. And of course, that's a little bit of a corner there. You start to get a sense of just how tossable this thing is. I mean, it's so small, so lightweight, so well balanced. And of course, Mazda's paired it with just fantastic steering. All of their steering setups are great, and the Miata is really the one that sets the bar for their whole brand. Of course, there's that saying, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. This is like exactly what they had in mind, whoever came up with that. Because you can really get into this, rev it out, you know, and drive it, you know, pretty hard and still stay within legal limits, whereas there's a lot of cars we drive that push the gas for more than like 2 seconds and you might get arrested, you know, so it's definitely pretty fun just to cruise around, and it really is. It's just a really fun car.
I mean, this car has such a small like footprint. I mean, that helps in its driving dynamics because it's so lightweight and it's so small and maneuverable. I mean, you can just throw this anywhere around the road, and I mean, it does a really, really good job of it. Just cruising along here, I do want to talk a little bit about the ride quality and comfort of this vehicle. This particular model is the Grand Touring, so this is a little bit more luxury oriented than the Club. I wouldn't say that this car is the most luxurious riding car. That would be a little bit of a stretch. But I think that really their ride quality has added to the driving dynamics, because this car, when you get into it, you sit so low to the ground, and you have such a connection to the road as far as the ride quality is concerned, that it really feels like you're in something almost kind of exotic. And you know, that really adds to its driving dynamics, and this car is made for driving dynamics. It's not supposed to be the most luxurious.
So let's talk for a sec about the elephant in the room. This is an automatic, the 6-speed automatic transmission. You know, honestly, we were kind of intrigued and interested to know about this. No one ever drives the automatic version on YouTube, so we kind of wanted to actually do something a little different, because even though this is an enthusiast-minded vehicle, and I believe the percent adoption rate for the manual is about 50%, which is very high for a manual. But at the same time, that also means about half of you are choosing the automatic still. So I think it's important to get a different kind of perspective. So, but I will put it into our manual mode here before we take off, and kind of check that out. Just nuts when it comes to revving. Wow, oh my gosh. Nuts. You're not going to find anything else that is going to get you. I mean, like outside of like a Ferrari or something, you're not going to rev to 7,500 RPM in just a regular car that costs, I mean, this is like $25,000 if you get a lower end one. This car is just kind of its own thing. That's how it's always been. There's no real competitors, unless you want to count the Fiat 124, which is still a Miata. So, you know, this, like I said, just does its own thing, and it's really, really good at its own thing. But coming back to that automatic transmission point, when left to its own devices, it does shift very nicely, very smoothly. And it's tuned, of course, to keep you in the power band. It is a sporty vehicle, so it doesn't shift a whole bunch for like fuel economy purposes or anything like that. It's definitely for the sporty dynamics. And then, as we just saw, kick it into manual mode, and you have Mazda gives you full control over everything, all the way up to the red line if you want to. So that definitely means that the automatic is still fun, in case you were wondering, you know, is it going to be like a penalty box or whatnot if I go for the automatic? The answer is no.
How this car gives you full control. I mean, most cars, because we had it, I guess, in like first or second gear, and we were just kind of just steady at like 3,500 RPM. Most cars would have just overrode you and just like dropped it down, you know, even in the manual mode, because they don't want you to do anything to it. But this car, they're like, nah, screw it. You can do all the way up until 7,000 and it's not going to interfere with you.
Overall, let's just say I finally understand what everybody was always talking about. Never been able to have the chance to drive one of these till today, and it's certainly kind of a eye-opening, I guess, experience, you know, because there's not a lot of pure sports cars on the market today, you know. Even things that are on the sportier side of things, they still don't have this analog feel that this car has. It just has a traditional, you know, you and the road, just a visceral connection. You know, that's something that's missing from a lot of cars these days. And I mean, there's really nothing other to say about this except that it's just so much fun.
Now, as far as the pricing is concerned for the 2019 Mazda Miata, you are going to find pretty affordable pricing, especially for it being a convertible. So for the Sport model, that's the base model, that's going to come in at $25,730, and the following prices are for the manual models, keep that in mind. And then if you go up one trim, that's going to be the Club, and that's going to be $29,590. And then you can go for this luxury-oriented Grand Touring model for $30,780. Now, if you want the automatic transmission, like this one has opted for, that's going to be about $1,000 or more. Now, this particular model has opted for two options. There's not really a lot of options, though. We have the Soul Red paint for $595, as well as the new brown roof option for $200. And then when you add in the $920 destination charge, this particular model as equipped comes in at $33,570, which is about as expensive as you can get the Miata. And it is fully loaded. It has really nice equipment. And like I mentioned, this is quite a value for a convertible. I mean, I honestly can't think of a more affordable convertible, and especially one with these driving dynamics. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2019 Mazda Miata Grand Touring. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.